Hey everybody, it's Thunder Kitten again, and I am here with my good friends. Back with Kay again.
Hi.
And then special guest in town for today and today only is my good friend Sarah.
Hello.
So the three of us are going to keep talking more about RWBY Volume 5, specifically about Episode 3. Or Chapter 3, I suppose is more accurate. That's what they keep calling it.
Yeah. None of them are called episodes for some reason.
Because they just want to make things more complicated. They're not seasons, they're volumes. Because 3 volumes makes a season. And then they're not episodes, they're chapters. Because reasons.
Reasons are good.
Reasons are good. So, before we dive into this conversation, let's just make it clear, just like always, spoilers all up and down the place. We are talking about all the things that happened and how we feel about them and how we think that things are going to play out with that knowledge in mind. Now, we also have not watched past episode 3 at this point in time, so we might be making some predictions that you guys are like, y'all are wrong.
We probably are making wrong predictions.
We're probably making wrong predictions. All right. So, this episode started off with Gira revving up for a pretty epic speech.
Yeah, and I really liked how it captured the silence that comes when you're like, oh, you're about to go out for a speech, and like you can hear the people outside, but the doors are closed, and it's that quiet where nobody's talking and everybody's nervous, and it really emphasized that, like, oh, the butterflies in the stomach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was pacing up and down.
I was going to say, he was, like, pacing.
And he's sort of, like, reading over his speech over and over again, kind of like he's preparing himself. But a nice little detail that I just really appreciated was his reading glasses.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
Just adding a nice human element to it. You know, just little details like that create these just new details for animated characters. And I just really appreciate that. Plus, it just reminds me of my dad. How he always wears those reading glasses.
Yep.
So, I don't know, special place in my heart.
I love Blake's family. All of them are wonderful people. It's like, you've got, you know, so often you have like the protagonist, oh, they're orphans or their parents were terrible, and, you know, Blake ran away from home, and you come back and you meet her family last volume, and you're like, oh, these are really sweet people.
And then you're like, why did you run away from home?
Yeah, why'd you run away from your mansion in this paradise? And
it's not like, you know, Weiss, where it's like, oh yeah, you ran away from your mansion because everybody's ice cold and they're jerks. But like, this is, yeah, these are sweet, wonderful, wonderful people. We're like, I want to see more of them. Right. And I'm glad we are.
I think it just really enforces that idea that, you know, she was going through like almost like a rebellious teenager sort of phase where it's like she didn't realize how good she had it and she felt like, I need to do my own thing. Mm-hmm. Or maybe even, you know, going back to the handsome, you know, charming, manipulative guy that we were talking about last episode.
Admiral Jerkface.
Admiral Jerkface.
Oh, he's been promoted.
He has been promoted.
He has, officially. In many ways.
He promoted himself, but, you know.
Something else I really liked about whenever Gira was pacing was that eventually you just kind of see Collie's hand come up and like rest on him, and then it's Blake, but it was Collie first, and I really just like that I'm your wife and I'm here to support you no matter what, even though a lot of our kin may not exactly agree with everything you're about to say. I am here and I agree with you, and it's just a really great little family unit. And then Blake joins in, and then Sun ruins everything.
Sun always ruins everything. I like Sun. I just...
Read a room, boy. Learn to read a room.
He's so awkward. And not always in the best of ways. Yeah, so his speech is pretty rousing, I gotta say. He's a fantastic public speaker, and I really get the sense that he was a great leader, and that just makes it even more sad to know that the White Fang kind of, in a lot of ways, a lot of those people just sort of pushed him out. Like, he realized he just had to step down because they didn't want him around anymore, and that just makes it sad.
I really liked that right away he was very quick to point out that some bad things had happened, and that if they allowed them to continue to happen, that they really couldn't look down on the people looking down on them anymore. And I feel like he kept repeating his end goal. and he never once faltered, and he never once contradicted himself. And I feel like that really does just show this gigantic contrast between him and Sienna Khan, who kept contradicting herself.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about that just a few minutes ago.
And I would say, maybe it's because this, obviously his speech is a little more polished, and we don't know that this is exactly how it happened, but it does seem to indicate that he recognized how things were going, how the flow of the people was encouraging him to step down, and it wasn't a full coup. It was, this is what the people want, and so this is what I should do. And, it could be just, things get polished in a speech, but it does seem like he was a great leader, and he recognized what his people wanted, and never put himself first.
Absolutely. And he's still kind of like protecting them from the shadows. He's trying to keep up with the affairs of the White Fang and like be in that loop and know what's going on so that no one randomly murders the leader and takes over everything.
That would never happen.
Not in this world.
No. Yeah, and he's trying to rally everybody. He's trying to rally all of the Faunus against Adam's splinter group. It's like he's trying to get ahead of that when we as the viewers already know, oh, this has already gone down. Now, I don't know necessarily how much time has passed, or if this is maybe even a simultaneous thing.
Maybe
it
he didn't know.
Could be happening at the same time, but news still hasn't gotten to him or anybody else about Sienna's murder at this point.
This happens like right after the end of the last episode, where you see like, oh, Captain Admiral Jerkface,
Captain Admiral,
Captain Scratch that Admiral kind of steps up there and does this tragic, like this horrible, strike for the bad guys, and you're like, oh no, how, and then they're gonna frame the a huntress, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be horrible for the good guys, and then you step here, and for me, I was actually relieved to watch this scene when I first saw it, because yes, this is already happened, that they're not going to be able to get ahead of it, they're not going to be able to save Sierra, but if they can get this message out first, or at least get it out on their side of the world first, before the framing starts to spread, before that rumor starts to spread, the truth has a chance. And I really liked that. That was why I was relieved watching this mess. I'm like, okay, they've lost Sierra Khan, but they might not have lost this whole battle yet.
Sienna Khan.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. No, him trying to get in front of it like that, like Sarah said, it absolutely gives a chance for the truth to be heard by everyone, and also it puts that little molehill in Adam's plan, makes him a little less credible.
Yeah, and it's like, since he's already said, we believe that Adam is going to try and murder Sienna, and it's like, oh, well, that kind of already happened, and we think we might know who is responsible.
And Adam can't take that back either. Like, he can't.
Yeah, you can't undo killing somebody.
Indeed.
There is no undo button for that.
Yes,
and
indeed.
everyone saw him do it.
Yeah, it was, all of those guards and Hazel.
Yeah.
So, it was still kind of a private thing, but
plenty of witnesses, and they're not, I said this before, clearly they're not all that loyal to their cause. They're loyal whenever it comes to whoever's in power or who it seems like is going to win. And judging by how that fight went down with Adam and Sienna, they knew who was going to win. That wasn't even like, oh, this was a landslide, or oh, by a hair. He slaughtered her.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet they all knew he could do it.
Yeah, I sort of got that impression whenever she's like, oh, take them away, and nothing happens. They're just kind of like,
no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's gonna murder you right now. And there's nothing you can do about that.
Like, I feel like if they thought that there was even a sliver of a chance that she could survive that attack, they would not have done it. Not standing there watching like that.
Right.
She was quick to say execution.
She was. Yeah, surely they were all aware that, oh, if Adam tried to attack, we could all collectively stop him. But just that idea of, maybe they were thinking, this has to be a one-on-one fight. Prove which one of them is tougher. And they already knew.
Yeah, they had to have. Can you imagine that? Just Adam's dead, gets back up. All right, who's going first?
It's like, how's that gonna work out?
So I'm guessing, like, I'm getting the impression you guys didn't think this was arranged beforehand. I watched
No, we totally think it was
do.
arranged
Okay.
beforehand, but that doesn't make them... Any 5 or 6 of them could have said, oh yeah, Adam, we'll totally follow you, and then tried to defend their queen.
Okay.
Yeah.
They chose not to.
Okay.
They could have taken him by surprise.
They
Yeah.
could, yeah.
I mean, they could have been like, he's arranging a coup, but we've got the jump on him. You
Yeah.
know?
Something clearly has convinced them that
The person
that would be a
who
bad
was
idea.
the most alone in that room was technically Adam.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they could have taken him down, no problem. They were all armed. They chose to let him kill her.
And you were saying something
Was?
about Gira's timing.
Oh, yes, indeed. When in his speech, so there's that moment where he's you see he's this great leader and everyone loves him and he's guiding the crowd. He's gathering them to his cause and, it's going really well and everyone's cheering. And then he throws that bomb out there like, we should go help them. And the crowd's like, no, that's not gonna happen. And everybody kind of falls silent. And you hear that and you're like, yeah, that wasn't gonna work. But at the same time, that was the best time to try. Like, he did his absolute best to try to sway as many people as possible. Yeah, they weren't going to decide in that moment. Like, he wasn't going to be able to just, grab everybody in mob mentality and march to save everyone that way. But the way he did it was, again, a masterful stroke of excellent leadership. The way he encouraged everyone in that moment to at least think about it, like to at least get caught up in we should be better than this. And so he didn't win that, but he did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot to ask.
Yeah.
You really get the sense that these are just civilians. Mm-hmm. These aren't hunters and huntresses. These aren't soldiers. These are just people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's people sitting there with their scrolls, like, filming it like, oh yeah, this is a presidential debate. Like, that's sort of what, it's somebody's giving this awesome speech. And you've even got news people there who are like, oh yeah, he's going to address us in just a few minutes. And this is being broadcast, at least locally. Mm-hmm. This is his speech to the everyday person. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot to ask of a normal person. Just be like, we all need to be a part of this fight. Literally part of the fight.
And what I really liked about the way he presented that, his timing, and then he didn't act like he wasn't aware of the fact that this was a lot to ask of an everyday person. He didn't use fear as a tactic. He tried to come out being very friendly, but also very urgent. And he kind of let them know, like, I know that I'm asking a lot of you. Mm-hmm. But I still want you to rally with me if you could, please.
If it wouldn't be too much of a bother.
Yeah. And he uses that moment to segue perfectly into introducing Blake, which I think would have been a very powerful...
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, because she's this young girl.
And she's already proven that she knows how to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, like she has already given some really decent speeches, even though they've been fairly short. I mean, she knows how to use words as a power.
Yeah,
she
can rally people.
She's had some really good teachers.
Yeah.
Not just her father.
Right. But also, I think that also goes back to the fact that she's very well read. Mm-hmm. She's
Absolutely.
She's a bookwormy girl. So, I mean, whenever you, as a person, just read a lot, if you have a love for literature, then that's going to show in your choice of words. It's going to show in how you select your words. Mm-hmm. She's going to have a large vocabulary, I would imagine.
Oh, very much so. And many different authors, like to pull from turn of phrase. You can have a very creative turn of phrase the more well read you are.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's definitely a part of her character. So she's not a super talkative person, but whenever she has to talk, her words are poignant. Mm-hmm. She knows what to say in the moment.
And to top it all off, she's she her whole life around her father and Adam, people who know how to rally a crowd.
Right. And then also she is being asked to speak on the behalf of the Faunus being wronged by Adam, which she firsthand has experienced, but she also has worked with Adam, so she has this idea. She's got this inside knowledge that she can potentially use.
She can paint a picture of him that no one else can paint.
Absolutely.
And I think that while Gira didn't have a chance to sway everyone in that moment, Blake absolutely did. And that's why Ilya stepped up when she did.
Yeah,
to interrupt, because you could see Blake pull the crowd. That could have totally happened.
Well, it's always totally different when you're sitting in school and you have like a historian come in to tell you firsthand about something that they've read, and then they're like, oh, this is an actual victim of what has gone down, and then you have the victim speak. You're a lot more focused on what this person who has actually went through this has to say. So Gira can say all he wants. They attacked this or they did that. And everyone sitting on this beautiful island is just going to be like, yeah, you were sitting in your big mansion-y house. And Blake can stand up and say, I was there, and this is how the air smelled, and this is how I watched my friend be maimed for life. And we're young kids, and you have young kids. Like,
yeah.
Blake definitely would have had more of an impact.
Yeah. And can we just talk about, Ilya obviously knew the exact moment when... Can we talk about that entrance, please?
Indeed, we should.
Can we talk about the fact that she was hiding under a sheet, apparently?
I believe she was dressed as a ghost faunus.
Oh, yes.
A ghost faunus.
She was a ghost faunus.
And elephant in the room, and Katie said this like 12 times while we were rewatching this. She's a chameleon.
She is a chameleon, for crying out loud, and she's under a sheet. And nobody thinks this is suspicious. I mean, if I were sitting there and if I were sitting in a group of people listening to some guy speak and there's like a KKK member just standing in front of me, I think I would be a little suspicious. I think I would be like, what is going on right now? Should we be concerned about this?
And then you see, like, when it comes, like, you see the sheet go up, which is like, no, it doesn't have sleeves, it doesn't have holes, it's just a sheet.
It's just a sheet.
And then you see her, and you see people step back like she sprouted out of the ground.
It's like everybody's like, everybody knows. This is epic.
She had cleverly disguised herself as a pile of snow on this island.
Clearly.
And nobody thought that was out of season.
She's a chameleon.
Interesting take, guys. Just
yeah.
It's an interesting concept.
It was
for how she would hide herself in the midst of all these people.
And we've seen this girl in her trailer, in Blake's trailer. We've seen this girl jump rooftops. We've seen her scale building sides.
Yeah.
Why?
She could have landed in the middle of the crowd, or... Well, I guess that wouldn't have been I'm one of you. That would have worked less well, but still.
Sure, I mean
hiding under a sheet, not so much either.
She's wearing the Grim mask, though. She's already making it a point to say, I'm not one of you.
And she even comes out and she's talking about Adam, and Adam he's our salvation, essentially, is her whole speech. So, I mean, she's not hiding the fact that she is faithful to him and his cause.
True.
No, she was trying to paint Gira to be the villain in that moment, to say, he knows that we were enslaved and he wants to see you back there. And what I really liked was she didn't say, the results that you desire. She said the results that you deserve.
Yeah.
Like, you all deserve better than this.
Right. And like you had said, Kay,
she said, the belladonnas are the worst kind of faunus. And it sounds like a tagline or a logo.
Yeah.
It comes off the tongue so well. So it was just this really powerful speaking tool that was just kind of cleverly slipped in there, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, it seems like the perfect kind of tagline that you would use for any sort of propaganda.
Yeah. Oh, and of course she throws in a little exposition piece for us, the fact that her parents died in a coal mine.
Yes.
And
or
again,
in a dust mine.
The dust mine.
Sorry, dust mine. But she throws back to that where you're like, oh yeah, in her character short, like we've been calling it.
Her character short, not Blake's.
Yes. That moment was so powerful for her, not just because people she knew had died, but because you know, she found out either in that moment or from the news later that her parents were in that as well.
She very intentionally personalized that situation.
Yes.
She took it like, you know, at first she was saying, all of you people who have experienced these horrible things. Oh, also, I have experienced this as well. So she was just hammering in that point again of, I am a part of you. I came from inside this crowd. I am also a faunus who has also experienced these things firsthand.
And she took Blake's speaking place. She became the young girl who had endured the tragedy.
Oh, yes.
She made herself the relatable figure and made Gira the bad guy who was oppressing her.
Yeah.
It was really powerful, save for the sheet, but...
Oh, it seemed to have an effect on them people. Them people. Wow.
them people.
Them people.
Wow, Sarah. Them people. Are they the worst kind of faunus?
Well, they didn't see the sheet.
Yeah, ghost faunus are the worst kind of faunus.
That's right.
You never see them coming.
Like, it didn't even look like it had, like, a button or something to be a cloak.
It didn't have any holes in it for her head.
And she came up from the ground.
She just popped up like, ta-da! It's a
Like
magic
daisies.
trick. It popped out of the crowd like daisies. Oh, man.
Oh, Mulan jokes. Okay.
Of course, always. Always. Okay, can we move on?
Yes.
It was so good. Oh, the sheet.
It was a beautiful moment, beautiful speech, all that stuff. And I thought it was interesting when Sun, I thought his response was really weird, how he just kind of like jumped at her. I'm like, what exactly were you planning on doing?
Shut up, man.
He's just like, shut up! Pounce.
I mean, I guess it doesn't, in that moment, I don't think, and I'm not saying that this was Sun's mentality, I'm not entirely sure how to approach that topic, but in that moment, it didn't matter what Sun did or if he landed a successful hit. He stopped her from talking. He stopped her from getting her story out there. He stopped her from painting more of a picture. He should have done it sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think you see that Sun's recognizing that, like, speaking is not his strong suit. He was not going to argue with her.
absolutely not.
And it was a good thing to not try. And the fact that
He would have made it worse.
yes, actually, yes.
No, sometimes it doesn't matter if you land your perfect hit. It just matters if you distracted from what was going on.
Yeah. And then, of course, the guards are all like, oh, get her. And she's long gone.
Right.
I would imagine at that point.
Oh,
She probably found another sheet tied in the ground.
She probably picked up that same sheet and just laid that down.
It's just like she just picked it up and just like wrapped it around herself, and everybody's like, she's gone.
Apparently, the faunus are not quite as intelligent as we were thinking that they may have been.
They are the superior race. What are you talking about?
Oh, speaking of people, before we move from this scene, people in the crowd, the white fang people, the
Finnick and not Finnick.
I can't tell you. Yes, those two people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's his ears. Every time I see them, the two of them together, I think those are eyes and ears. Now, I don't know what the other guy. You know, I don't know what the other guy's animal resemblance is.
I think he has a tail.
It's a tail.
I think it's like a wolf tail looking thing. I think.
A wolf. Oh, okay. Yes. And I don't know if that's the case, but there's something about those ears are like so obvious. They're not small ears or anything. It's just like they look like eyes and ears.
It's because he's a Finnick fox, I would imagine.
He couldn't hide them with a bow.
He couldn't hide them with a sheet. Oh, okay. So the next scene is back with Team Ranger and Uncle Crow and Oscar, and that's when we find out officially that that Ozpin is, you know, possessing this child, and then they can switch back and forth. So he lets Ozpin take control of his body temporarily.
Indeed.
It's quite interesting.
And you see, throwing back to your Penny video, you see RWBY is the one that comments on the fact that he has two souls.
Yeah.
And Crow would have filled them in, but I really doubt Crow was talking much about souls.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like
this
it's in
is
his
Crow.
vocabulary. Yeah. So yeah, RWBY's the one that's like, oh yeah, we've never met someone with two souls before. That's so cool.
it makes you think that she can really sense souls very clearly in people, which I think that's just a really interesting trait. And I wonder...
And it seems like something that Ruby would totally have, because she's so innocent and she takes everything for what it is at face value, and I feel like she gets a good read for people's emotions because she cares so much about everyone around her.
Right. I just want to touch on the voice acting aspect of this. I was very impressed that while they still, like, they did the cool, like, overlay with Ozpin's voice and Oscar's voice. I thought that was a really cool trick. Sound. Anyway, so, but I thought that as far as voice acting is concerned, there was an obvious change in Oscar's voice whenever he was speaking as Ozpin. His manner of speech changed completely, and he sounded like Ozpin despite the fact that his voice was still Oscar's voice. And I just gotta say, that is so impressive to me, and I just really appreciate that kind of work from that same voice actor portraying two characters in that moment.
I did not realize that was Oscar's voice actor.
It is, yeah.
Wow. So yeah, incredibly impressive.
I feel like you would just have to sit down with your co-star and just like listen to them speak for a long period of time.
Yeah. I would assume. I'm kind of wondering if they had recorded Ozpin doing that whole speech and then had Oscar's voice actor listen to it and record over it, and then they just sort of picked all the different points where, like, oh, we're going to have this overlap here. So I wonder if that's maybe what happened, but I don't know.
That could totally be a thing. There are just certain things that you can't gather from a recording alone. Sometimes it's the way that they move their head to make a certain sound, or the way that their lips curve. Like, some things you just have to mimic person to person.
Yeah.
Speaking of that overlap, I feel like there's some definite significance in the timing of the echoes when he's talking. And while I don't know what that might be yet, other than you see he's got echoes whenever he's talking about his backstory. I feel like whenever he's talking about, or he's talking from the perspective of, oh, I'm a multi-life being, you definitely have echoes going on. And so you almost, it's like Oscar and Ozpin and maybe even more.
Maybe
I mean, they've
another
been merged
person
at this point.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's that, this is more than just either of these two people. There's definitely those echoes going on. But I feel like there's more significance than that even.
Yeah,
I thought
we'll
I
see.
heard the same thing, actually. I thought I heard more voices than just those two.
Yeah, and from a sound design perspective, I just gotta appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the little things that just, they make scenes like that have so much more meaning. And it makes them resonate so much more with the viewer, and I just appreciate that so much.
Absolutely.
So now we know that they've got a new mission. That their new mission is to get the Relic of Knowledge. And how in the world? So obviously they're gonna have to get the Spring Maiden to do that. That was already established, that each maiden is the one who has to open up the vault that contains each particular relic. And oh man, I still don't think that that's going to be an easy task. I really don't, and I've got theories on that.
I mean,
Really?
nothing has been easy for these kids since the end of the third season. Ruby was all sunshine and rainbows and everything's kind of happy and cute, and then, you know, everything's fun and games until somebody loses an arm.
Essentially, yeah.
Nothing has been easy since then. We've been seeing different kinds of Grimm that are way more frightening and more terrifying than anything that we've seen thus far. Crow has almost died.
Yeah.
Like, he could have died in that moment, and poor Yang is still trying to, like, deal with her situation. And the team is so very divided.
They really are. And it's seeming like it's just going to get harder and harder for them to reunite with each other. You're really getting that sense. Even though they're setting up for a lot of things, you know, so their mission is to go, they know that the Spring Maiden is with the bandits. We learned that in the first episode. So they're, you know, Crow is all like, oh, we gotta go fight my sister and get the Spring Maiden back.
What a great family reunion.
You know, no biggie. And then we've got Yang, who is looking for her mother, she's trying to track down Raven. And then now we know Weiss. Oh, poor Weiss. Weiss is with the bandits.
They're talking about trafficking her.
Yeah, they're talking about ransoming her to her father. Mm-hmm. And like you said, you're like, oh, I don't think her dad's going to pay for her.
Oh, Weiss is just kind of like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah. I do think that he would pay for her. I think he, more than anything, wants her to be under his thumb for the rest of her life. So I feel like he was going to be like, yes, here, all the money. Give me my daughter back so I may imprison her.
I don't know about that because honestly, he's at this point where I feel like if he thinks that he can't control Weiss, he'd rather her not be around so that he can just make excuses for why she's not around.
That's possible.
She's a deviant. She ran off. This and that. Blah, blah, blah. And it would just make it even more, I guess, viable that whenever she did finally return home, that he would imprison her because she is run off, because she has been this deviant child.
Right.
So he might even just be like, yeah, I'll pay it, but eventually let her wait it out. Let her think about what she has done.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that he does want her back under his control, but maybe she'll learn her lesson a little bit better if I leave her with the bandits a little longer.
We'll let them rough her up a little more.
Because he smacked her that one time last season. And fun fact, there is a small subsection of the fandom that defended him on that.
What?
Yeah, did anybody ever get to read that stuff about how he's not an abuser and Weiss had it coming and just doesn't understand all the stress he's under? There was a small faction of this fandom that legitimately believed that and they were sticking up for him.
What? No.
He crossed a line.
Just that, no.
It was meant to, like, it was portrayed as crossing a line.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got the sense that this was not anywhere close to the first time that he's done that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like, look at her brother. Look at the way that he behaves. Look at his social anxiety. Look at how he just acts with other people. Like, yeah, it's not your textbook social anxiety. He can be around other people, but he doesn't feel and or behave like a normal person. Right. And it's something that's been brought up in a couple of different separate occasions. And the thing that I notice about Whitley, or whenever I really get down to thinking about him, is that Winter left. And then Weiss left. And then it was just him and their mother, who seems to be very, I'm going to be over here and not bother my husband.
Right.
And then Dad, who isn't exactly a family man. He's not warm or loving. So you leave this little boy all by himself, you're going to get an interesting result.
And you really get the sense from him that he's behaving very, very well. Simply so that he doesn't have to endure the same things that his sisters did. Mm-hmm. You really get that sense from him.
What's scary, though, is that he seems to enjoy the anticipation of his sisters getting what he may have gone through.
A little bit.
Well, maybe he resents them for leaving him.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Winter took off. He would have been very young, and then he probably would have been clinging to Weiss to some degree, even if it wasn't physically, even if she really didn't realize how much he relied on her. And we all know that Weiss was not exactly the most concerned with other people. She probably hightailed it out of there the moment she could. Mm-hmm. Didn't even think about what it was going to do to this little boy. So maybe there's a degree of, I want revenge against both of you for leaving me to deal with this when you knew what he was.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So poor Weiss, captured by these bandits. And in this scene, we get to see this girl who mysterious girl from the opening sequence. And David and I had some interesting thoughts on that because she's portrayed in the opening sequence as being across from Cinder. Mm-hmm. We had thought, oh, maybe this is some sort of rival or something like that. As soon as I saw her, and you were there.
Yes, I was.
You were there the first time I saw that episode. I was like, calling it now. I think this is the Spring Maiden.
Yeah, I was there. I was like, I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know. But yeah, as I've watched these again, I'm like, yeah, I could definitely see that because she's clearly an important character.
Yeah,
the Spring Maiden is clearly with the bandits.
I'm looking at her color scheme.
Yeah, color scheme. She's got that cool tattoo on her arm that's obviously a reference to the Branwen tribe. It's this bird. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you don't see any other bandits having, like, now most of them have their arms covered up or whatever, but you don't see any markings like that on any of them. So it kind of seems like, oh, she's really fully given herself to this clan, and that just makes me think even more that this is the Spring Maiden who is just devoted to these people. She is integrated fully into the bandits.
And what really seals it for me is what she says to Weiss. Because she tells Weiss, like, oh, it's too bad you're a stuck-up schnee because you have some spirit and you really could find a place with these people.
Yeah.
And that's because she sees herself there. She was picked up. She wasn't born into this. She was picked up by the bandits and has found her place with them.
Yeah.
And she likes her place. And here's, Weiss, she's like, she's kind of cool too, maybe, whatever. Whatever this first impression is, she's like, yeah, you could probably make a place for yourself here too.
Right.
And
Which
you get the impression there's
that
not a lot of girls around.
I can say that she's not necessarily this evil person. She's just trying to look out for her and her own.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really interesting if she was this maiden, because she'd be such a drastic difference from Pyrrha or from the Fall Maiden.
Yeah. So if this is the Spring Maiden, and she is fully integrated into this bandit clan, then that's going to be even more difficult for our heroes to get her
to help them
open up this vault to get this relic and all of that stuff. And that also makes me curious to see how she reacts with Salem's group as well, because they're obviously oh, we got to go to the Branwen tribe and get the Spring Maiden from them too.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see how she and Raven, I mean, obviously I can't wait to see more of Raven too. She's a very interesting character, but I heavily suspect there's like a maternal relationship going on here, and that we're gonna see, Raven's not such a bad person. There could be a lot of jealousy between Yang and the Spring Maiden. Or we're just calling her the Spring Maiden now.
Yeah.
I'm her legit daughter. Who are you?
Yeah. I actually, the same thing had crossed my mind too, is that, she's kind of like this adopted daughter. And maybe it's like, she's the daughter I wanted to have.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, Raven doesn't strike me as the kind of person who wants to sit at home with Ty and listen to his bad jokes and take care of her daughter.
Yeah.
No, she would want a quote unquote daughter that she could go out and do all of these things that she wants to do with. Yang is that person, but she's not that person.
Yeah.
Yang is more than capable of going out and having a good time and adventures. And
but she's not a bandit.
She's not a bandit.
Yeah. But she could have been. It really makes me think, oh wow, what if Raven had run off with Yang and raised her in this environment? What kind of person would she have been? And I think she would have ultimately been pretty much the same, but she would have been more
oriented toward bad things.
Yeah, she would have been more, I got to protect my own. And I do what I do, and you do what you do.
I think that the big difference between the Spring Maiden and the situation with Yang would have been that I don't think that the Spring Maiden would have been a small child whenever she met Raven.
Yeah.
Younger, yes, but not a small child. And I don't think that Raven is the kind of person who can handle small children. She doesn't seem very maternal to me at all.
Well,
like, what did she say to Crow? She said, I saved her once. Yeah. And that was supposed to be like I did my part. No, you did not.
Well,
That's not where motherhood ends.
Even going into what you're saying there is, in the first episode when they say, she ran away and got picked up by bandits. I mean, we already know she was already, a teenager or a young woman.
Right.
From what they were saying.
She was just a little immature to be a maiden, but she was clearly capable of making her decisions.
Yeah. But according to Leo, the weight of responsibility was too much for her to take, so she ran away. And it's like, oh.
Man. So she relates to Raven.
Yeah. I will be surprised if this is not the Spring Maiden.
Very. I have a sense of foreboding that, like, the other episode has already aired, and I'm like...
and people are like, they just straight up said this is the Spring Maiden, or they straight up said this wasn't the Spring Maiden.
Yeah.
How dumb are you two?
Well, it's okay. Sometimes you just make predictions like that.
And it's fun.
Yeah. Oh, man. And also... Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Just her saying that, Ironwood already recalled all of his forces, so your sister's not around. Nobody's around to help you. This is pushing Weiss to help herself again.
Yeah.
As beautiful character development for her. And she summons the little knight guy. Oh, the tiny little knight.
And the look on her face. But I think that Weiss always intended to help herself in this moment. She was just trying to scare them.
Yeah.
See where she could get with that tactic. Knew that it wasn't going to work and was like, all right, well, it's time to move on to plan B. And it really is just beautiful how independent she can be when she's not working with Team RWBY.
Yeah.
I like this scene. Playing off of both of those, I like this scene because at the very beginning it shows the juxtaposition of both her naivete and I'm not pronouncing that right, I'm sure, but her naiveness.
Oh,
how do you say that?
That's naivety or I mean, some people say naivete.
Okay,
but
I learned words from books, not from talking to people.
Oh, most of the time I've heard it said naivety, but I don't think that's how
I've heard it said like 30 different ways.
Yeah, I don't know.
Her naiveness and her shrewdness, they're juxtapositioned very well in this scene. It opens with the guys being like, oh, she's awake, we're so creepy and stuff, and she...
We're so creepy and stuff.
And she is like on the ground with her legs folded under her in her little combat skirt, and she's like, oh, what's going on? I'm a naive, vulnerable little girl. And then when the Spring Maiden walks up and she's talking to her, you also see her rise to the occasion. Okay, here's a person of power. I know how to talk to people of power.
Yeah.
And while she's very innocent when it comes to how dark the world can be, she's not completely innocent when it comes to power struggle and power play. And she does get information out of the Spring Maiden, even if that's not what she was digging for, but she does gain something in that.
Yeah.
So I think it's very interesting. You see both the strengths and weaknesses of Weiss here.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that was worded beautifully, Sarah.
That was
thanks.
Perfect, Sarah.
Even though I can't pronounce naivete.
That's okay.
That is
love
the
you
official
anyway.
pronunciation.
Yes.
Naivete. Oh man.
There will be no attacking of Sarah in the comments for mispronouncing this word. None of that, please.
Kay will come after you.
And she's scary.
I promise you do not want that.
So be nice to Sarah.
Or experience something traumatizing.
Foreboding.
Like the end of this episode.
Yes. Yeah. So then we've got Ozpin still talking to this group of people, just reminding us of the information that we learned in Yang's character short of RWBY. You totally can't fight hand to hand, and it's like, I wonder why they brought that up in Yang's character short before this.
Right. Yeah. She's been tied to Crescent Rose and weapons in general, but yeah, she's been very attached to weapons, and she knows how to use it quite well. But you did see her. Whenever she was captured and he was oh man. Anyway, whenever her gun got kicked away from her,
yeah,
and she was suddenly a very vulnerable little girl, and she
Yes.
could not fight her way out, and she needed to be rescued.
Is that right when Torchwick curb stomped her?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The curb stomping. It was so awful.
Yes.
No, RWBY is not able to fight hand to hand, and she's always talking about her gun and her
Yes.
scythe, and she's very attached to it. And of course, it's not necessarily a bad thing. She wanted to go fight Grimm. No one in their right mind woke up this morning except for Yang and said, I'm going to put on boxing gloves and go fight that gigantic thing.
She didn't even put on boxing gloves. She's just like, I'm going to punch it in the face.
It's a family resemblance.
She's just like, come here, Ursa. I'm going to punch you dead. That's essentially Yang.
I'm gonna boop you so hard you will shatter.
I'm going to boop you so hard. That was Nora. Nora woke up this morning and said, I'm gonna boop you so hard. Yeah. I also love the moment where Ozpin in Oscar's body does this like impressive flip and is standing and then he's spinning his cane and it's like, what in the
Nora's
world
just not impressed.
like everybody else is like, oh, that was so cool, and Nora's just like, I've seen better. Like her face is just like she
Nora's
just does not
like,
care.
watch me do a flip and swing my big stick.
Oh man. Okay, and I just want to say I have serious objections. I have a personal love in my heart for physics, and I have so many objections.
don't
I have a very
say.
strong objection to the fact that Oscar promptly falls out of the chair upon resuming his own body. There was no momentum to speak of. There was just, he's spinning a stick, no big deal. Oh, all of a sudden this chair is so rocky and I fell out of it. It's
a pretty solid chair.
It is a solid chair. It's got a cushion on it. That's it.
Like, if they had done it in the way that they had done it when he first switched in to Ozpin with the lights and the shaking, that would have been understandable.
Yeah. Then it was just all of a sudden, oh no, tiptoe, I'm gonna fall. And it's like, okay, seriously, if anything, kids are better at standing in chairs than adults are. Like, he's short. But yeah, and he doesn't even have the weight to push the chair over, even if he tried. But yet, suddenly, the chair falls over backwards.
This chair probably weighs a good 3 times his weight.
Exactly.
And it just, whatever.
Just falls right over.
I have an objection.
I mean...
Rooster Teeth. Get your physics engine straight. Everything else is great, though.
Everything else is great, though. All the things.
So basically what we have learned this episode is... sheets do not make good hiding materials. And chairs cannot be knocked over by small children.
That's right.
And belladonnas are the worst kind of faunas.
And belladonnas are the worst kind of faunas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
And how is that word pronounced, Sarah?
Naivete.
And we are not mean to Sarah in the comments.
All right. Do we have anything else that we want to add before we wrap this up?
I have a thought that I'm nervous about because I feel like it's really wrong. But, okay, so I heard the episode with David, which happens to be my brother, by the way. We're related.
Brother David.
Yes, Brother David. So you guys were talking about the Wizard of Oz characters, and I just wanted to come back to that because I'm sitting there thinking, oh, okay, yeah, we have the lion, and we have, like, the tin man, sorry, the tin man, and I was like, but... Okay.
I just want to say that TK finds Wizard of Oz references in everything.
This is true.
Everything.
Oh man.
Also, I am crying right now.
Don't cry, you're gonna arrest yourself again.
Oh man, okay,
Okay. The Tin Man.
yes, indeed, the Tin Man. We have the Lionheart. We have the Tin Man. And I was like, what, did we forget the Scarecrow? And I had to go and look it up. No. I had to go and look it up. I'm like, oh, they're talking about Crow, of course. Wait. So here's my problem with that. A scarecrow is meant to scare away crows. Crow is a crow. I don't think we have the scarecrow yet. That's my personal feeling. He's definitely a lieutenant.
Okay.
He's one of the lieutenants, yes. But I don't think that the scarecrow in terms of the Wizard of Oz characters has been revealed yet.
Right.
And the way he says... in the exposition episode, the way he says vacuo as well, like vacuo, I kind of feel like whoever the headmaster in vacuo is, they're not going to get along.
Okay.
That's just my premise. That could be completely wrong.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, that's.
I think you're wrong.
Okay.
But that's very interesting.
I also do not think that
Okay.
Crow is reminiscent of Scarecrow.
Oh.
So I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
She is. No, I guess the way that I see it is, like we've talked about before, I think this was just with you and Thomas, that the characters don't always accurately represent who they are associated with, and sometimes they like to play around with that idea and do like the complete opposite. And the way that I see it is he is a scarecrow in the sense that he is like their agent going around, and he's obviously been by himself as a spy, kind of all this stuff, and that the villains are kind of scared of him in a sense.
Oh, okay.
And they were targeting him very much in Volume 4.
Yes.
And that it was beneficial to them that, oh, we've taken him down, because now we don't have to worry about this guy.
The eye has been blinded.
You know, and you got to think he was protecting Team Ranger all through that. He was essentially scaring off all the bad things from them. So that's the way that I see him as the Scarecrow. But I could see it going, I could see them pulling the rug out from underneath this, being like, psych, he's not actually the Scarecrow, you guys.
On occasion, they do that.
They do that sometimes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can respect your opinion. I really
You just don't agree with it.
I just don't agree with it.
That
but,
happens.
I mean,
That's okay. We'll see what happens. There may come a time when you guys are doing one of these and you get to be like, ha, TK, you were wrong.
Yeah, dude.
And then she'll sit here in silence for a good 2 minutes.
Crying with laughter over the tin can.
Yes. Right. No, you know what? Rooster Teeth, I dare you. Do it. Make me wrong, please. I want to see it happen. I've been wrong before. It's all right.
Yeah. Yang.
Nothing to do with robot arms. Yeah. All right.
That's it.
Anything
Cool.
else?
I don't have any other
I think I'm good.
controversial ideas.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for coming and joining me. Kay, this is your second episode, and you're awesome as always.
Oh, thanks.
And-
Thank you for having me. It's tons of fun.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you get to do it. And Sarah,
It was a blast. Thanks for having me.
it's just I'm so happy that it happened to work out while you were in town.
Yeah.
So that just means come more often and you can do this.
Okay.
All right. And thank you to all my wonderful subscribers, everybody who has listened this far to this ridiculous review. Kudos. Way to stay in there. And if you would like to see more content like this from me, please comment, subscribe, like, share, all the YouTube things, because come on, you guys know how this works. And yeah, I will see you guys in another video, so bye!
I encourage you all to go hide under a sheet in your house and see how long it takes for your family members to notice you.
Bonus points for springing out of the ground.